Hello everyone, I hope you had a great day. Today we are looking at some new malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button, it really helps the channel to grow. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more content. And now, let's start with the first story, shall we? The first story is called Drop the Fries. I'm working in fast food at a certain place with square burgers, making fries and nuggets. Now, at that place, it was fine. My coworkers are great, really nice people. They cover me when I clean, instead of putting me at the mercy of my managers. Speaking of the managers, they are almost all nice. Since I'm still in high school and I surprisingly have a life, I'm shocked also, I can only work Saturdays and Sundays. With Saturdays being 5 to 9 and Sundays being a mix between 7 to 3:30 and 8 to 4 respectively. My football season just ended and so I'm called in on a Friday. This is before I fully knew the worst manager there, let's call her Vanessa. So I do what I normally do, drop the fries, pull them up after the timer goes off, drop them into the fries holder, salt them and package them ready to eat. You are supposed to also use the drop timers, which is supposed to keep track of how long they are sitting there. After a certain set time, you throw them away. I see next to no one do this, so I assumed I shouldn't do it. Well, Vanessa noticed this and began to shoo me out because of it, but in a way that was way extra. This got me a bit peeved, but I had no choice but to use them. Now, the reason we don't use them is that it slows things down. You are supposed to drop more fries when the timer says so. But this isn't possible during the lunch or dinner rush without causing major overflow. Now, Vanessa tells me to switch out trash cans, so I let the guy on the grill, we call him Chad, know to keep an eye on it and to use the timer because Vanessa wanted me to. So I switch them out, and no later than 2 minutes after I'm done, she gets up in my face about not dropping it on the timer. I tried to explain to her why this wouldn't work, but she insisted on it. So I used the timers and slowed down production. The rush calmed down a bit, and I still used the timers as I didn't want my head chewed yet again for the third time. Nonetheless, Vanessa found a way to scream at me. She told me to drop less fries, idiot. Now, I politely told her that she was the one that told me to drop it on said timer. Now, what I said and how I said it didn't show the complete riot going on in my head. She screams at me to do it anyway. Cue the malicious compliance. So the rush picks back up, and I do not drop a single fry. I take box after box from each and every order until there was enough in there for one more large fry. That's when I drop the amount for another large fry, right then. I also follow the left and right basket rule, no baskets of fries from the right to go on the left, to really stick it to her. The manager tries to shoo me out once again, but I informed her that I was just following her orders. She tries to flip the script, saying she never said that and that she was going to write me up for it. Thankfully, Chad overheard the previous conversations and let her know that yes, she did say that. She tries to put Chad down, telling him to mind his business and threatened him with a write-up. Seems like it's game over for us. Except it isn't. Our second savior, the other manager working at that point, let's call him Aaron, also overheard the conversation. He also let her know that she said that. Now, she can't threaten a write-up on someone on the same level as herself, so what does she do? Excuses herself and him to the back, where a glorious shouting match had occurred. We all heard the yells and promptly pulled out our phones. We all see Vanessa storm up to us. She screams, "Screw you all," and leaves out the front door in front of a crowd full of people. And that was the past of Vanessa. After the fact, we got a new manager that was leagues better than Vanessa and everything was in balance. And to add salt to her massive wound, I found her recently at another fast food chain where I said to her, "Don't drop too many fries, lady." The next story is called Rounded Times. I work at a place where many people are salary, but there are also people on a time clock. Most of the time clock employees have a factory worker kind of position, so that makes a lot of sense. Then there are mainly office workers, like me, who are on a punch clock due to our positions. Office workers on the time clock generally have their time checked by supervisors who don't really care about some overtime. Anyway, we used to have a pay service which also provided a time clock that would log the minutes you used the machine. It would calculate your time based on the minute you punched in or out. I thought this was a pretty good idea and made sense to me. Then this was no longer the case. Our company switched to a different payroll service and had a different time clock. The new service began to round my time to the nearest quarter hour. It took me a couple of paychecks to finally figure out what was happening. I saw that it clearly rounded to the nearest quarter hour, but I assumed at first that it was counting every minute and rounding. No, it was rounding up or down from the minute you used the clock. I was annoyed by this at first. I was especially annoyed that there was another rule where the clock would always round up to the next quarter hour during the first clock in of the day. I saw no reason for the clock to round. It is a computer and the math is easy. Eventually, I realized that the new rules were made for the dozens of production workers. They have to be in working at and start being paid for a certain time, so they have to clock in a little early. They also take the lunches all around the same time. The new time clock rules make a lot of sense for them. I work in the office and I don't have a strict schedule. If I want to blow through lunch and leave early, I'm allowed. I can take lunch at 11 or 2 or whenever. Nobody cares. I have work to do and I do it. I know that I am very lucky to be in this situation, but my relationship with HR regarding this time clock started on the wrong foot. Cue malicious compliance. Knowing that it makes no difference to my pay if I clock in at 8:01 or 8:15, if I'm running a little late in the morning, I'll just calm down and take an extra minute. For lunch, I'll usually now clock out at something like 12:08 and then clock back in at like 12:51. That's 43 minutes to eat, but it only counts as 30 minutes as far as the time clock cares. Then, when I leave, if I'm leaving at 5 for example, I'll clock out at like 5:08, which counts as 5:15. I gently expressed a dissatisfaction with the rounding clock when I first learned about it, so I don't really feel on the hook for this. They can come and tell me outright if they want me to change these practices. I usually squeeze some overtime out every week because of the system. The last story is called Yes You Can. The school I go to is well respected in my country. So it was not uncommon for venues to request to display a student's work or to ask for students to sing live for them. On the occasion in question, the largest art gallery in the country had asked my school to submit inspired art to be out on display. The school agreed and said that they would submit 5 pieces of work, 1 piece per year for years 9 to 13. I hated art growing up, but it was a mandatory subject until you got to choose your subjects in year 10. Needless to say, I dropped the subject ASAP. Despite hating the subject, I still put effort into my work and some of it wasn't that bad. However, at the same time, I would not hide away from expressing my views when we were given a task that I didn't see a point to, even if the teacher was in earshot. Needless to say, my relationship with the art department faculty wasn't the best. My teacher at the time particularly had it in for me. He was one of those teachers that have the view that their subject should be your most important subject, regardless of your future ambitions. If he thought that you weren't prioritizing art, then he would make your life hell. Yet again, I hated art as a subject. He knew this, but I would still do any work set to the best of my ability. We had just finished a project where we had to mix different pigments to create our own unique color. Being colorblind, I struggled a lot, as I literally could not differentiate between half of the pigments. I gave it my all, but ended up giving up halfway through the project. My teacher hated me for giving up. In his defense, he had tried to make it as easy as possible for me. But I hated the subject and saw a way out, so I took it. My teacher was beyond mad. When we went to hand the project in, he gave me a lecture about how I need to put in more effort and work harder because the quality of work was unacceptable. Once that project was finished, my teacher told us that the gallery had asked that we create some inspired art. We were basically shown 5 different paintings that we were supposed to recreate in our own way. There was a big fuss about this. People were saying that art schools would be giving out scholarships, that there was a $10,000 reward and other nonsense that 14-year-olds make up. But nevertheless, everyone wanted to be the one to have the painting in the gallery. So for the next month and a half in my art classes, we would work on our piece. After the first week of working on my piece, the excitement of the new project wore off, and so did my eagerness in lessons. My teacher noticed this and went from complimenting my work to yelling at me about what I was doing wrong. By the 4th week, I was over the project and just wanted to be done with this. With 2 weeks left on the project, my teacher pulls me aside to tell me that my work isn't good enough and that I need to improve it. I tried to improve, but he kept belittling me. So, out of arrogance and spite, I made art my most important subject until the end of this project. I dragged myself to each lesson, quietly working myself to the bone, counting down the days until the deadline of the project. After what seemed like a year to the 14-year-old me, the second to last lesson arrives. This lesson was not for final touches or anything like that. My teacher had decided that he should review what each student has done well and where they could have improved. He walks around the classroom, complimenting everyone's work, until he gets to mine. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I'm pretty sure none of it was positive. I do remember, however, how he finished talking about mine. You can tell that he hasn't given this any thought and hasn't taken this seriously. That stung because yes, I had lost interest in it, but I had still worked hard in lessons and given it my best shot. The bell then went and I sucked out of the class with my tail between my legs. The last lesson finally comes and I can't wait to be over with this stupid project. This lesson was a big one too. The judges from the gallery were coming to the school to judge all of the work. They come into our class and do all the formalities. These all look so good, I have no idea how we can decide on only one. Then they start walking around the room, muttering to each other. The whole class stood silently at the back, trying to hear what they are saying. They do a full lap of the room, then walk back over to my spot. I don't even notice this, as I had tuned out after they had looked at the second painting. Then they ask the teacher whose work they are stood over. He looks at them almost in disbelief as he gestures to me. I snap out of my daydream and just smile politely, with no idea what is going on. The judges then confer for a while, whilst my teacher and I frantically try and figure out what is going on. Finally, after about 5 minutes of mumbling, they say that they want to shortlist it to potentially be shown in the gallery. I look at them in shock, then yet again smile politely and say thank you. I cannot begin to describe the look on my teacher's face. I don't think I have ever seen someone more confused, angry and disappointed all at the same time. My teacher then begrudgingly thanks the judges and walks them to the door. He thanks them again as they leave, then storms back to the class. He doesn't even congratulate me on my work. He just defeatedly says, "Good work everyone." As a reward, I'll put on a documentary for all of you to watch. And he did just that, not saying another thing until the end of the class. Later on that week I got an email from the gallery, asking for my permission to display my work, to which I happily said yes. Thanks for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.